Welcome back to Lawyerist Lens. I'm back here with Aaron Street.
It's my second time on a video.
This is your big two. It's anniversary, I guess.
Yeah.
So you and I have both been frustrated lately, if not always, by people who we send an email to them and then they kind of ghost us, don't get back to us, whatever. And it is our impression that people are just bad at email and we want to help.
I think people struggle with email. I don't think people are bad people. I think what I can't figure out is whether there is a trend happening or not.
Right.
It feels like the phenomenon of being ghosted is happening more and more, where in a non-transactional actual email that requires a response, whether it's with lawyers or product vendors or people who have nothing to do with Lawyerist's core business, but like an email that requires a response, I find myself regularly having to send
like hound people.
A third, fourth, fifth, 10th email saying, circling back once more just to hear from you. And I don't know what that phenomenon is. My hope is that it's something solvable related to how people process their email. And we talked briefly in our last video appearance together when we were at the bookstore about the getting things done methodology and how that relates to some aspects of productivity and email management. But I am baffled at how this has become such a thing. And maybe there's confirmation bias where like I'm just feeling it more.
But there's also there is the getting things done inbox zero here, which is like a system that people would have to learn. And I get that people don't want to go to the trouble of learning a thing. But it doesn't mean that the absence is to just abdicate all responsibility for your inbox and fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and there's this idea that like overwhelm is a common thing for people, and it always has been, and like lawyers having trouble regularly communicating back with people has been a perennial issue.
Yeah,
and maybe
I think so.
Maybe in the era of social media and texting and whatever, there's so many inputs that it's just feeling more exacerbated. Or maybe on the flip side, there's this dynamic where the concept of like deep work and batching your emails has become so popular that maybe people are attempting to use really good email practices and carve out special time, but it does not feel that way, because in a perfect world of any of those things, you should still be able to triage things and get back to the things that you need to whenever.
So like my basic like lowest hanging fruit possible would be that if it's in your inbox, it should be because there is something left that needs to be done with that email. And if it's not, if there's nothing left to be done with that email, then put it in, create a folder called archive or trash it or something. But like, if it isn't an open loop, if it's not a thing to be done, get it out of your inbox.
Yeah, I mean, there are any number of best practices or ideas.
Well, what's yours? Because you are much more deliberate about making sure that emails only show up when you need to do something.
Sure, I am happy to share my practices. I think it's really important. I have no interest in coming off as the know-it-all who thinks there is one solution for everyone.
Well, and you and I do it differently.
Exactly,
so
and
no
especially in the context of small firm law practices, like the need to respond to emergencies can be different for different practices and different people. My practice is, whether it's Google's core Gmail email app or their spin-off Inbox email app, or in the past I've used other email management platforms, one of the core features I now need in an email manager is the ability to snooze things.
Yeah.
And so for me, I essentially have 3 workflows. One is, if email comes into me and I either don't need it at all, or I just needed to know it came in, a receipt for something or a verification or whatever, it's just archive and never think about it again. Archive, delete, whatever.
That is fundamentally like everybody needs to do that.
Yes. The second phase is this snoozing function, which has different names in different applications and works a little differently, but the concept is you can really quickly swipe that email or set it to go away from your inbox for now and come back at a set time. And I use that relentlessly, not to keep pushing off things to get my attention, but because I know that a personal email is something I'm not going to get to until tonight after work, or this is the kind of project I want to work on this afternoon, but not right now.
Or if you tell somebody, I'll get back to you later this week.
Yes.
Snooze it until later this week,
Yes.
so it pops back
Right.
up.
So I also snooze sent emails
Yeah.
as frequently as I snooze my email, emails that come to me. So I will send someone a thing that needs a response, the waiting on concept, and I will snooze it until I need to re-ping them. And there are people, and this is what we got to at the beginning, is there are people who I will be snoozing this week,
Yep.
pinging them again, snoozing another week, pinging them again. And that way I never have to like think about what things I'm waiting on. I know they will come back to me when at the deadline I've set for when I need to re-ping them. And similarly, like if there's a project that I know is going to need my full attention and it doesn't have it right now, I will snooze it until the day or the time when I know I will have attention to give. And then the only things left in my inbox after that, which takes 2 minutes to process, are the things I'm going to respond to right now. And once I've done that, my inbox is empty.
And I'm pretty confident you can do something similar in Outlook, which a lot of lawyers obviously use.
Right.
I think when you flag something, you can set a timer on that flag or a date and a time on that flag to bring it back up, or so you can check your flagged messages. And an even simpler way to do it, which is snoozing, is awesome. And if your email app does snoozing, use it. For a long time, all I did was just star emails that needed a follow up, and then I have a folder full of things that need follow up on them.
But you still then need to set aside time to look at the starred emails. Yeah.
You have to do it every week or every day, or
Yep.
every day preferably. But it's not as good as snoozing. I prefer snoozing, but if you don't have an app like that, that does it. Is that the main function that lets you keep track of your email, or is there something more in your practice?
That is essentially the core of how I currently manage my email, and it's at this point mostly built around the snooze function.
Yeah.
And being ruthless in like not letting anything linger if it doesn't need my attention. There is like this terrible habit people get in where they think, I don't need to worry about that now, I'll get to it later, and then you end up with 200 or 10,000 emails in your
email
inbox.
Is an avalanche.
Yeah, and the reality is, even if you aren't giving it your attention, every time you're looking at something that has 100 things in it, it is pulling part of you, either that you're saying, oh, I'm so far behind, or that your eye is looking at that subject to see if that's one of the things that needs your attention or not.
Yeah.
And you are giving it, even if it's a millisecond of time, you're giving it brain space, and it doesn't need it or deserve it.
I also know a lot of people use like the mark unread in their inbox as a way of like the things that are unread are things I need to do, and that is so unreliable because the moment you touch that email again, it marks it as read. And if you don't remember to re-unread it, or whatever you would say, it doesn't even make sense. But and you can accidentally hit like Control A and R or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're read again. Like it's just such an unreliable way.
I would even go further, which is to say I don't even think the biggest problem there is its unreliability, although I think that is a problem. It's that by definition, then those things are mixed with incoming emails, which means every time you're looking at your inbox, you're checking them again and again and again. And every time you look at an email, even for 5 seconds, and don't just complete the damn thing, you're just repeating that over and over and over again. And a core concept of the getting things done methodology is like touch things once, or maybe twice. Touch it once, and then when you're going to do it the second time. But that's it. Never more than that second time.
And we've kind of accepted that our inboxes can double as to-do lists, really.
Sure.
For us, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you for the last 10 years have been a rabid fanboy of kind of the inbox zero methodology.
Yeah,
I remember you ranting and raving about Merlin Mann when we started Lawyerist a decade ago. We just had him on the podcast a couple of months ago to rehash a bunch of these conversations. And I think there is for sure this dangerous like cult of inbox zero where the goal is not inbox zero. The goal is to have your attention be on the things that deserve your attention, and having a clean inbox is a really good way to not have your attention distracted with garbage, but spending time getting to inbox zero as like a goal in itself is just as bad a waste of your time and effort.
I bring this up all the time, but one of my favorite David Allen quotes is, you need to think about this stuff a little bit more than you are now, but not as much that you're worried you're going to have to. And I would add, and probably less than you are doing now by ignoring it.
Right.
Like by doing nothing, you are wasting way more of your time than you would if you took some time out to spend a little bit of time thinking about how are you going to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks again.
I'm confident there is at least one, if not some measurable portion of people watching this video whose inbox right now has at least 1,000, if not many thousands of emails sitting in the inbox. And this isn't to hate on those of you. I'm confident it's because you don't think of your inbox as your inbox, you think of it as your email.
Gathering place,
And one thing I would encourage you to do is like set aside half a day once to figure out how you can select all from anything that's over 2 months old and archive all of those. You don't need to delete them, just get them out of your inbox. And then one at a time for whatever is recent enough that it actually might need 4 seconds of attention. One time, process it through the archive, snooze it, do it thing. And even if you've got 10,000 emails in your inbox right now, you can get to inbox zero this week.
I think that's a great place to end. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.